We do have a special announcement.
We have a plaque.
This is for you all, for watching, for listening, for being here for the show. This is so awesome. Oh shit, Lyle! Fuck! It's like super awkward, skinny teenagers and this badass funk music underneath.
Funk can mean so many things. What brand of funk did you end up getting closest to?
Bootsy
is
and
it a
his
wah?
gigantic freaking pedal board. And he had all kinds of shit going on.
Dude, you got the crew for this.
How did you get in touch with all of
Yeah,
this?
how did you do that?
This is the craziest story.
Welcome back to Professional Musicians React. I am so excited about today. We are listening to the music of Superbad with the composer of the music from Superbad, Lyle Workman. Lyle is an amazing guitarist and producer. Lyle has toured and played with everybody from Beck to Sting to Todd Rundgren. Has written music for blockbuster films that have made billions of dollars, including Superbad, 40-Year-Old Virgin, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, so many more. Lyle, we are super psyched to have you today. Thank you so much for joining us.
And with us behind the mic is Tim Sonnefeld, Grammy-winning producer, engineer, multi-instrumentalist, arranger, has worked with everyone from Pomplamoose to Usher to Rancid to Elvis Costello.
He hasn't worked with me yet, or have you?
Not yet.
We got to get that going.
Gotta get that going.
What's happening right now?
Yeah, we have now.
Here
On
we
the
go.
clock.
Okay, we're gonna kick it off with favorite song from a movie soundtrack. I'll kick us off. The track is called The End, ? And it is Nicholas Britell, and it's from the movie Don't Look Up.
I'm going to go back a couple of years. Just a couple of years. The movie is Midnight Cowboy, and the song,
Yes!
the song is Everyone's Talking.
Everybody's
at Me
talking.
by Harry Nilsson.
Harry
Yes.
Nilsson.
Love that song.
That's my
Everybody's
shit.
talking at me.
Everybody's talking at me. I don't hear a word they're saying.
What do you got, Ryan?
One that's gonna date me, which is Imogen Heap, Hide and Seek. This isn't quite a movie, but in the OC.
What you say? That's just what we need. You decided this.
And then
a good
also
anthem.
the main theme for Eternal Sunshine of Spotless Mind. I'm so excited to dive into this movie. This was like a coming of age movie for me and so many people. I remember seeing this movie with two friends and being like, that's us. This
Yeah.
is like the first time I've seen like a movie where I'm represented on screen, and the music is such a huge part of that. And it's just, you did such a great job of blending the score with the soundtrack, and it just all feels of a piece and is such an amazing feat. So I'm really
you.
excited to dive into this.
Tim, tell us some detail about this track before we jump into it and listen.
All right, here we have the soundtrack to Superbad with music composed by our guest, Lyle Workman. 2007, this film came out, produced by Judd Apatow, starring Jonah Hill as Seth and Michael Cera as Evan. The music is performed by a reunion of the original JB's rhythm section. Bootsy and Phelps, Catfish Collins, Clyde Stubblefield, Jabo Starks, and supplemented by keyboardist Bernie Worrell. It also features songs by Curtis Mayfield, Rick James, and the Bar-Kays.
That's so insane.
Dude, you got the crew
That's
for this.
so insane.
Yeah.
Let's listen
Yeah.
to it. The track is called Super What?
Welcome to the party, baby. Yeah. Let me get my freak on. Yeah. Are you ready? Hit me now. Let me play with the hand of funk now, boss.
Oh shit! Oh shit, Lyle! Fuck! That's so good!
Oh my God,
Thanks.
that must have been so fun.
It was a blast.
That guitar solo at the end is so burning.
Oh, thanks, man. in terms of the music, the genre was predetermined before I even made what was part of the picture. And because I saw an early cut of it, and it was James Brown and Parliament Funkadelic and George Clinton. It was all.
That was all the temp.
That was in the temp.
Yeah.
So it was okay. That part of it was easy. And we know we wanted the name of the song is Superbad, which is a James Brown song.
Right.
And the juxtaposition of that really cool, funky stuff with these teenagers.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know what they
It's
were
like
thinking.
super awkward, skinny teenagers and this badass funk music underneath. It's
Yeah,
perfect.
it was just perfect. You know, as written by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. They wrote that when they were high school students.
Oh my God.
That's when they wrote that
Wow.
movie.
Did you work with those guys as a part of the film scoring, or was it
Yeah.
mostly with the director and production team?
Mostly with the director. Greg Mottola was the director.
okay.
Yeah. I'd done the 40-Year-Old Virgin. That was my first movie with Judd Apatow. And so Judd called me in for a meeting because I want to talk to you about a couple projects. And we'll see which one might be the best one for you. And I was okay. So we spoke about 3 movies. One was Walk Hard, Knocked Up, and it was Superbad.
Oh my God.
And I remember Judd was talking about each one a little bit, and he goes, "But you know, I'm thinking that maybe Superbad might be the one that I want you to really focus. I think that we really want you to be a part of."
This
And
is
I remember
over coffee or something?
Yeah, just a meeting
Okay.
with him, and he goes, "In fact, this is the director, to Greg Mottola, and he was there, and I didn't know he was." And I remember thinking, like, "Oh, I want to do Judd's movie because we'd just done that together."
Right.
And I'm so glad. If I had to pick one of the 3. I'm
Yeah.
really glad it ended up being Superbad.
I mean, what an iconic film. It turned out to be such a film of a generation.
How many movies had you done at that point?
Well, only one.
That was your
Well,
first movie
no,
with Judd?
It was my second movie with Judd.
Okay. So 40-Year-Old Virgin was your first movie?
My first major movie, yeah. Before that, I'd done one independent film, a Jon Favreau film called Made. That was it.
So how did you go from touring with Sting and Beck to all of a sudden
Well, that's kind of really
writing
a
for
side door.
features?
I'd done one movie with a friend of mine that was friends with Jon Favreau and Vince Vaughn. And I was working with a composer, a guy named Ed Shermer, who was hired me to play guitar in his scores. And he just called me one day and he said, "Hey, the vice president of music needs some guitar for his own personal music. And you know, I know, Lyle, you're trying to do more scoring and stuff. You've got that one film, and might not be a bad idea to do a favor for the vice president of music." And so he came into my studio. I'd pre-made a CD of stuff from the movie I'd done, and I'd also written some music for commercials. Again, it's all through session work.
Yeah.
And this vice president really liked what I did and had said, "You want to do some additional music for a movie that they got a composer, but they're trying to find some more whatever kind of the music, different, like more rock-based stuff in some scenes." And so that movie was called Kicking and Screaming with Will Ferrell, and one of the producers was Judd Apatow. So that was my connection to Judd, and then Judd, right after that, signed his directorial deal with Universal. And so the vice president said, "Hey, remember the guy that?" He goes, "Yeah." And so Judd knew about me because he's a big music fan, and I'd played with Todd and Rundgren and Frank Black. And
Yeah.
so he's enamored with musicians.
Yeah.
And so he goes, "Well, let's give him a couple scenes to see what he does." And so I thought, well, I'm never going to get
So you
I'm not
did
gonna
those
get
on
this.
on spec?
Well, just a couple scenes.
Yeah.
And that got me the gig.
Wow.
And then,
Crazy.
you know, then the movie came out and it was #1 for 2 weeks in a row. And then so it was kind of like skipped.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Yeah,
steps
you
to
can
get
skip
into
to the front of the line.
Yeah.
Amazing.
As I said, that the music was already temped in. And so we spoke about, well, let's stay with that vibe in all the score spots.
And did you get those guys to play on
So
the
what?
score
Yeah,
stuff?
what happened? So it was determined that would be the musical template, but I thought, do you think we can get these guys that actually made that music that was temped in? Can we get those as my band?
How did you get in touch with all of
Yeah,
them?
how did you do that?
This is the craziest story. This is because I knew I wanted Bootsy Collins.
I imagine
Big
the
time.
first scene from Mighty Ducks 2.
Where they're getting the band back together? Yes, it's like
Goldberg's flipping
yeah,
burgers.
yeah.
And you're on the
what it
skateboard, like, come on, we're doing a movie.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, what was wild is that, so I knew, okay, we ran up to Sony because you know, I could have just had local musicians.
Yeah.
In fact, I did have local musicians we worked out all the tracks, or the cues. I wrote the stuff and had them record it in preparation for the band to be assembled at Capitol. We did 4 days at Capitol Records. At the outset, it was like, well, I know I want to get Bootsy Collins, but how do I get a hold of Bootsy Collins?
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that knows Bootsy Collins.
Yeah.
Nobody I knew anybody. I just happened to get an email, and it was from this company called Godlike that makes guitar pedals. It was a little bit before the NAMM show, the convention where
Yeah.
all the music merchants get together and show their wares. Godlike booth. Bootsy Collins will be appearing. I went, oh my gosh. I mean, just
No, you went
I
up to
swear to
Bootsy
God.
at NAMM?
So what happened? So then I emailed my contact at the Godlike Pedal Company. I said, hey, I'm doing a movie. I've been trying to find him, and I know where he's going to be in 3 weeks. And can I get his number, or can you? And so he contacted them, and I got the number of his manager, which is his wife. Talked to her, and she goes, hey, yeah, that sounds great. You know, why don't you go talk to Bootsy at the NAMM show? So myself, the director, and the music editor and supervisor went to the NAMM show and to go talk to Bootsy at the Godlike booth. And there he is, you know, with a big old hat and the star sunglasses and stuff. And we took a couple minutes and just gave him a brief, synopsis of what the movie is. And we'd like to have you be a part of this, of the score, along with your esteemed cohorts in crime. He goes, okay, well, here's my phone number or email, and we'll talk about all the details. And so through him, he was the conduit to get to all the other guys,
Nice.
which was, the 2 drummers, Bernie, the keyboard player, and another guitar player.
And was it hard to get them all in town in the same room, schedules aligned, or
No.
they were all just down and
Yeah.
whatever
Well,
Bootsy says?
it was a pretty penny.
Yeah, I bet.
And it was a favored nation, so it was like having a big orchestral score. That's what it ended up costing that much to have all those guys.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful, man. It was a family reunion because a lot of them had not seen each other for a while.
Did you film like behind the scenes
Oh
of
yeah.
any of that?
Yeah, there's stuff online with hand signals, with talking him through every cue. We're gonna switch now. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it wasn't simply looking at a piece of paper with all the directions. I was literally directing this thing in real time as I was playing along with the band.
Okay, so many questions. So many questions.
Okay, sure.
The main riff. Boom, ba-dum, bum, bum. Bum, ba-dum, bum, bum. There's some really crunchy, talky, it almost sounds like a clav on the left side.
Yeah.
What is that crunchy, talky thing?
It's up. Well, there's
What's that?
clavinet and there's also Bootsy
is
and
it a
his
wah?
gigantic frickin' pedal board. And he had all kinds of shit going on.
So
There's a bass solo in there, and it's like at one place, is that you? No, that's actually bass. He
The
had
thing way up
the
high?
things that were
The
going
Thing
up
way
high.
up
Yeah,
high.
yeah, the
He's doing
whammy
octave
pedal.
pedals. Sound like a synth. Sound like a
Yeah,
Moog.
Yeah.
He brought a whole truckload of stuff of
Okay,
tricks.
so
Bootsy.
he's playing.
Yeah,
Okay.
the core band was the JBs. The 2 drummers, Bootsy, Catfish Collins, which is Bootsy's brother on guitar. They played together in James Brown's band. Bernie, so that was the core, and then I brought Jeff in for overdubs.
Fabco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's playing B3.
Oh, and also we have a Luis Conte percussionist and Jerry Hay, the horn, his horn.
Did you do the horn arrangements?
Yeah, with Jerry in tandem.
And what
Which-
was the horn?
yeah.
What's the horn lineup? What are the horns?
Yeah, just trumpet, 2 sax, and trombone.
That's it?
Was everything live?
Yes.
The horns with the rhythm section?
yeah,
Which
everything was
drummer
live.
was that?
Oh, so the horns weren't overdubbed.
Okay,
the
I got
horns
a
were
story
in the
about the
studio.
drummers too.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody played together.
Is everyone in ISO or is it all in the same tracking room?
Everyone's in ISO.
So how many people were tracking live at once? Is this like 12 people?
8 maybe.
And were 2 drummers tracking at once?
No,
Okay.
no. Okay, the drummer story is that when I had contacted Bootsy, I said, what drummer would you recommend of the 2? He goes, no, you got to have both. And I went, well, I really don't want the sound of double drumming. He goes, well, trust me, Lyle, you want both. And so I go, okay. So I just hired them both. And on the very first cue,
It's Clyde Stubblefield
Clyde
and who?
Stubblefield and Jabbo Starks.
Jabba Starks. Okay.
So I knew that being that we weren't going to just read charts, other than maybe Bernie Worrell, that we would just rehearse each cue one by one. And so I'm set up in the room with them. I'm playing my guitar and I've got a microphone here. So I said, okay, let's first cue. I go, so Jabo, so I guess we'll start with you. You know, it's just, it starts off with a, you know, like just kind of a, remember that's the cue that starts on the hi-hat, and he goes, okay, Lyle, and so it's, I want, you know, but this is more of a straight kind of funk.
Not swung.
Not swing. He goes, okay, Lyle. And then I hear on the talkback, Lyle, this is Clyde. I think I might be right for that one. So that's it. You got your straight funk and you got your swung funk.
Two different feels.
cow.
Yeah. So I knew that was it. That Jabo just had to swim. I'm exaggerating it a little bit,
But he
I
had to
wanted-
swing it.
He has to swing.
He's stuck on swing.
He's stuck on
and it's
swing.
beautiful. I mean, it's
He's
like
born to
swing.
swing.
It's the best.
It's a swing
But
you
that's
never
just
heard
where
before.
he feels shit. Yeah.
But so that's Clyde on that one.
So are they both set up?
Yeah.
And you just
Two drummers.
choose who's the right drummer based on the cue, based on whether it's
Yeah,
like
right
swung
then
or
I knew.
straight.
Okay.
Who's doing the vocals?
Okay, so this is the thing
Who's-
about
who's that
Bootsy.
talking?
Bootsy. So
That's Bootsy?
That's Bootsy.
Yeah. So Greg Matola.
McLovin! That whole thing
Yeah.
is Bootsy?
Yeah. So Greg Matola, the director, said wrote out some. Well, hey, can't we just have some just some ad lib lines from Bootsy? Because Bootsy sings on his records, you know, and he's just got this iconic voice in his own language.
Yeah.
Hey, Bobbers.
Yeah.
You know, that's his own stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So we wanted him to interject that
Yeah.
in the score. And so the director had written down some lines, and there's one thing he says in there, let me play with a hand of funk now, Bobbers.
Let me play with a hand of funk now.
Now the hand of funk,
Yeah.
while we were rehearsing, I would talk out the cue, we would rehearse it, and then at one point Jabo says, Lyle, you got the mic in front of you. Can you just talk us through it as we're playing it? I went, oh my gosh, he wants me to kind of do a James Brown. Like, let's go to the bridge.
Yeah.
All right, going back to the first part, you know, or whatever vocal cues are.
Yeah.
So here I'm looking at the monitor of the what's happening in the scene. I've got my music.
Oh, so you
and I'm
have the scene is playing in front of you.
Yeah, there's a movie, this monitor.
Does everybody have that or just you?
Just me. Now, so what made it tricky is that usually everything's all timed out. The cues are all timed out. So all the stuff I had done, all the songs, all the cues had been written and recorded in advance and placed in the film.
Yeah.
So we were going to replace those with, you know, the real band, whatever you want to call them, the guys.
Yeah.
But I learned after the click would come in and that everyone would come in, and by the third bar,
You're just out in
no
outer
one
space.
is like, yeah. And I went, oh,
Had they
no.
just not played with clicks before?
No.
They never had.
Well, Bootsy had.
Okay.
You know, Bootsy had, and maybe, but the drummers, it just wasn't working. So I said, let's just use the click as a count-in, and then just
How long did it take you in the studio to make that call? Because that's a pretty big call
Yeah.
to make. It's like, well, we've got these cues. I spent a ton of time syncing them up with the track.
Yeah.
We did them with the temp band. We made sure they lined up. All the moments were right with the. And then you go for how long in the studio before you're like, well, fuck it, that plan's not working. Let's just talk it out live. How, like
the first cue.
the first cue.
Yeah.
Like in the first couple
As
hours.
soon as I heard everyone play not to the click, I thought this is going to ruin everything. I don't want the click. I want their
Yeah.
You want their
Right.
feel.
Yeah, I don't want to screw that up.
Yeah.
Well, let's just count it in.
So
And then
this track that we
click,
just heard-
click, click, mute,
Yeah.
and then they would start.
And did
Yeah.
they recut the scene slightly
no,
to fit?
no,
Okay.
no. So what happened is that now there's no cues that are 3 minutes long. There's nothing that this is long. They're all more like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
20 seconds, 40 seconds.
So it's fine if it's a little off here
If it's a
and there.
little bit off, maybe one cue might have been a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes long. And so I would say, hey, we're kind of speeding up a little bit too much. Let's just, you know, and we might have to do it a couple times until we
Yeah.
got. And it was nothing like, it wasn't like cartoon music where a guy gets hit in the frying pan and has to
Right.
get doink.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, it was more like band, more like song type oriented stuff, to where there could be, you know what I mean? It wasn't that kind of music that would score specific moments, you know, and cuts.
Let's listen to the next song, Funk McLovin.
Yeah.
I'm a heat seeker. Yeah. Tongue tweaker, baby.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Ad-lib some lyrics.
yeah.
You just loved it so much.
Watch out now. I'm on the prowl. And I like your style.
Oh!
Oh,
Right?
I feel like anytime you hear, okay, we need funk, and it's a movie, the potential for cheese is so great, and I feel like you avoided that just beautifully. So funk can mean so many things,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's like the Funkadelic brand, the Meters brand. What brand of funk
Yeah.
did you end up getting
Well-
closest to, or were there main funk influences that
Well,
informed the writing?
the big influence was Parliament Funkadelic. Anytime I could sort of put a little left turn in a chord voicing or in a movement, I just have to do it because I'm built. You know that's
Yeah, they're
my,
kind of
that's been my-
jazzier voicings
Yeah.
than would be typical. There's a lot of extensions and
Yeah.
alterations.
Also got to get to that one. Jerry Hay had more to do with the horn arrangement on that one. But yeah, so any place where I can add a little of that harmony in there, I love doing that.
Yeah.
And how
but
about-
also trying to come with something that's again just simple but catchy. You know that's
That was
the-
in your head,
the way-
trying to make it catchy.
always.
And that main riff. Bum, ba, da, ba, 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 da. Yes,
Yeah,
that riff. So you composed those riffs,
yeah, I could, yeah.
and then you get to the studio and I
And
guess
it was all recorded, so all this stuff was recorded.
already pre-recorded.
Yeah,
so
so-
you did you arranged basically the whole band. And then
Yeah.
how much leeway did the guys have in terms of were they playing what was on the record, or did they improvise things on top of it? Do you know what I mean? Like how much were they adding to the
complete
composition?
leeway.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to put a muzzle on guys like this.
And who played bass and drums on the stuff you gave to Bootsy and Clyde?
Bass player Sean Hurley.
Does he even know that he's playing out of the key? You just
I remember thinking that way.
Oh yeah.
And
wow.
the great, I know you guys have mad love for Sean Hurley.
Mad love
who
for
doesn't
Sean?
have
Who
mad
doesn't?
love for Sean Hurley?
What a
Just the greatest.
yeah.
And then Victor and Drizzo.
Oh right.
And again,
Classic.
the stuff that we
1-2
recorded
punch.
on any other situation would have been the score. But I said, if we really want to make this great, let's get the guys into a great studio and a great engineer and a great mixer.
And how much of what Sean was doing did Bootsy cop?
You know, anything that's a riff, you know, the I mean, that's riff.
Yeah.
And or that was the riff on the
Yeah.
the
Can
same
you,
song.
can you speak to like how is like Bootsy has such an iconic feel as a bass player. How does that compare? Like what was it like to AB Sean's take on a thing versus how Bootsy would play it? Like how does Bootsy's tone compare to Sean's?
Well, almost everything he played was that Bootsy played was through effects. Like both these songs, I don't think there's straight bass sound on it. So they were going through. I don't know what he had. The octave dividers.
Yeah.
And, yeah. So it's
And
a
is he-
big. He's like an orchestra of a sound already. Just
Yeah,
him.
can we
Just him
listen?
playing.
Let's listen to that bass solo because
Yeah, he's playing. He's got a whammy pedal.
I mean the bass sound is so bizarre. Listen to that.
finger funkin', baby.
Such a cool sound.
Yeah, it's weird to hear those drummers mic'd that way because you're so used to hearing Clyde and Jabo recorded in the way that those James Brown records were recorded that when you hear them close with condensers, it's strange. It's like seeing someone through a totally different lens.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that a choice to record them that way? It just sounds.
Yeah, I knew that Bootsy loved getting as much out of his bass as possible with, you know, not only the way he plays, but
Yeah.
with his effects and stuff. So I thought that would have or add a really nice character
Totally.
to, you know, so it wasn't so, it was a little bit more modern, I guess you'd say.
Okay, we have one more track to listen to here. This is Cops See Fogel's ID / Seth Saves Evan.
This is my favorite cue.
Why?
The second half, there's just something about the parts and the sound, the way everything kind of came together, and the horns. For me, all the planets lined up.
Yeah.
In the composition and in the production, recording, etc.
For reference, the first thing we listened to was end credits. The second thing we listened to was not actually in the movie. That was for the soundtrack.
Yeah.
This is actually a cue from the movie. Let's listen. Mission Impossible.
Yeah. There's some like sound effects you shit in there too.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, what a beautiful cue. Those
Thanks.
string arrangements are so
Yeah.
lush.
Thanks. Yeah.
That's
Those
a
are-
journey. There's so many different emotions in that cue.
Yeah, what's interesting to know about this one, this is not the Superbad band. This is Sean Hurley and Victor Guzzo.
yeah.
So we recorded in my studio. So this is the one exception to the rule. So this was recorded in my studio, and then we did horns and strings at Capitol, just to sweeten.
So, okay, so the strings that lead up to this moment, I'm curious about like the emotion of the moment and the storytelling like techniques that you chose here. There's these incredibly twittery, swirly
trill.
strings, the trill, the classic trill,
Yeah.
with the like half step motions that make it just feel really tense and
Yeah.
dissonant, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then the strings are kind of moving upwards, and so you
Right.
get the sense of crescendo and climbing. The volume is climbing on the strings. If you were to look at the track right here, which I'm
Sure.
looking at, you can literally see the waveform expanding
Yeah.
over time. And then when it
There's
finally
some sound design stuff underneath that too.
exactly, there's some
other
drums
What is
and
that?
There's just some sample stuff that I added along with that.
Like a
just
keyboard.
rising
Keyboard
tones.
riser.
Yeah.
but this moment where it lands,
yeah.
it suddenly becomes this angelic, sweet, like
It's so
wonderful.
effective.
What is the moment?
So that's
what happens?
two different cues put together.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, different. You know, they're
different
separated
moments
by
in
an
the movie?
hour. Yes.
Oh, different moments in the movie.
Oh.
So that was
okay.
I thought that one cue would because that was each one doesn't go that long, but I love that end piece so much that I wanted to figure out what I could put on to the front of that. So I took this short crescendo tense thing and added it to that little piece at the end.
So a cue like this.
So
how long would it take?
It could start like. I saw my guitar's out of tune.
We'll tune it in post.
Yeah.
This is how you'd write it. You'd pick up your guitar and
You
watch
see,
the
'cause
picture.
I'm hearing something really stupid and dumb like
Yeah.
this as the harmony.
Yeah.
But then, how do I make that sound interesting? And one thing that I did is I went over to. Do you guys know Keefus?
Yeah.
Keefus, the great keyboard player. He did this thing where he opened up the top of the clavinet and he had a paintbrush And so on his right hand or his left hand, he's playing the chords, and he's ding, gang, gang, gang,
Yeah.
gang, 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 gang. So it had this really interesting sound. So I blended that in with the guitar. And then we have the horn line, and then kind of made this big reverby sound with the drums. So it really is about production and about texture.
Were there
You just
any
never know.
cues where you just kept grinding and grinding and grinding and it wasn't landing with the director, or they wanted something different, you had to kind of go back to the drawing board? Was there anything that wasn't hitting, or was it the kind of thing where like you were just eye to eye the whole time and the cues just came out and they were mostly right?
The only thing I can remember is when there'd be a song, a popular song, and they're like, we'd like to save $300,000 for 30 minutes of, to pay for 30 seconds of this
Yeah.
song. Can you do something? And so I would go, okay, I'll do something, and then they go, we came up with 300,000.
Right.
I mean, sometimes you could work on a score where they'll just end up using, if they tempt in another composer's stuff, they'll go, we're going to license his track because it really works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
After you've spent 3 months trying to top it.
Exactly.
Yeah. How long did it take from start to finish to write this score?
I got about 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah, there was a good amount of time on that one.
That's a lot of time?
That's a lot of time, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What was it like the first time you actually saw the movie? Was there a screening?
There was what they call a friends and family screening, which is usually just essentially what it sounds like, just friends of the director, filmmakers, very small, maybe 30 people, 50 people. They had already temped in the movie, so there was all the funky stuff that was in there. I had no idea what I was going to see. I was hoping it was going to be good, and about halfway through, I was going, oh my gosh, this is the next Fast Times at Ridgemont High for this generation.
You didn't realize how good the movie was until you got to the screen.
Yeah, there's one scene in particular when the guys go to a party of the older kids.
Yeah.
Do you know that scene?
Yeah.
And just the grittiness and the intimidation of all the older kids, and I guess they end up in a room with some of the meaner, bigger
Yeah.
kids. And man, they nailed that feeling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They
and I
really
just said,
did.
It seems so real and funny and unique. And I was driving home, and I called my wife. I said, man, this movie, I can't believe I'm going to be a part of this thing. It's so good.
Yeah.
And again, it just inspired me. When you're given something that's so good, it makes you want to do your best work. And then that was also why I said, we got to get the original guys. It's going to be as good as local musicians are. They're going to add an element of extra realism to this score.
Authenticity.
Exactly.
Lyle, this has been such a treat having you.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll be back with a new video next week. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a comment letting us know what we should react to next. Thank you, Lyle. Thank you, Jack. We'll see you next week.
I'm a heat seeker.